that does bring us to the question about what will Texas A&M do next? And immediately, one of the first names that was brought up, now here comes the tangent to the Duke and Carolina game, Mike Elko.
Of course.
Mike Elko worked as a defensive coordinator for Texas A&M. When we look at the year where they had their most success, Mike Elko was there for that.
That was Carolina. Yeah, that was the year they played Carolina, right? 2020.
So there's logic there if you're a Texas A&M person. But I say, Lauren, as someone who's from the state of New Jersey, who is someone in Mike Elko's age range, and it has a similar life experience, obviously don't have his resume or bank account. But I was pretty adamant yesterday on Twitter that I don't think Mike Elko will leave Duke, which is a low pressure Power 5 job.
Right.
Okay. We don't have his exact number, but I would imagine he makes between $5 and $7 million a year at Duke. Because remember, he got a new contract after last year. Mm-hmm. And the going rate is basically $5 million.
Duke has more money than y'all think. Like,
I don't think Duke's going to outspend Texas A&M.
No,
I'm not saying that. But I think he will stay at Duke. He will turn down Texas A&M if it is offered to him, because I think he's too smart to leave a good situation
with security,
security and a quarterback where he can make a little bit of hay and then have better choices than. And I get it. Nobody's offering me $100 million guaranteed. I get it. I understand that. And all I'm saying, though, is I think this is a Ivy League educated man who I think is going to look at all of the angles here, and not just the, I'm going to cash out and take the money from Texas A&M, because quite frankly, Texas A&M had a window when they left Texas and Oklahoma from the Big 12. They had a window without those two behemoths, without their gigantic rivals. They got Johnny Manziel. They made a bunch of money. They hired Jimbo Fisher. Ultimately, they never won anything.
I know. Yeah.
And now that window's closed. Not only do you have to start dealing with Texas and Oklahoma again, but Alabama's not going anywhere. LSU's not going anywhere. Georgia's not going anywhere. So the chances of Mike Elko leaving Duke and going to Texas A&M and having success at the level that Texas A&M wants, I think it's a very, very slim margin.
I agree. I tend to agree with that. I think the balancing act, though, that coaches like a Mike Elko, like a Dave Clawson, should a Dave Clawson want to eventually take a different job? I don't know that he would necessarily want that, but that's the balancing act. I think that coaches that do want a bigger, quote unquote, bigger job, right? That's the balancing act that they have to kind of like perform, right? Is like, okay, when do I leave? Because if you wait too long, then you don't get a choice anymore.
Yeah. And don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying Mike Elko is Duke for life.
Right. And I'm
saying he will have better options.
I agree.
Than going to Texas A&M, even for an obscene amount of money.
Yes. I tend to agree with that as well. Like, I just don't, I mean, why would you want that in your life? Like, why? Why would you want that in your life when you have a situation that's a lot more manageable right where you are? Or even you could wait for a different job, a more desirable job, or not desirable. That's the wrong way to put it, maybe, because then there's all this talk about what kind of job is that? And people are getting all bent out of shape.
I don't think I don't think you're stepping out of line by impugning Texas A&M for having unreasonable expectations, even with all of their advantages financially.
I mean, I guess in a sense they did give Jimbo a while.
6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long time by their standards. That's a long time for a guy. Now, here's the other part where I feel confident about. I'm not claiming Mike Elko and I are great friends or hanging out or we even text. I'm not claiming any of those things. I would just say to you, Mike Elko grew up in the state of New Jersey, where I grew up, and very similar experiences. And we both played high school football and have like this, reverential belief in the Northeast a little bit, if you will. He also worked at Notre Dame.
Right.
A lot of people from New Jersey are either Penn State or Notre Dame fans. Okay. If this was Penn State, I think he's gone. If this is Notre Dame, he's gone. Now, could Texas A&M? No, not Rutgers. If Texas A&M were to hire James Franklin, then you're in trouble.
Oh no, that's a new leader in the clubhouse for me for funniest hire they could make.
That would be hysterical. Okay, but it's in play. I just also think like Texas is we saw this in basketball with Shaka Smart. Shaka Smart should have taken the state job after VCU and did not.
Right. You see it a lot.
Because he was sabotaged.
Oh.
He's the sabotage coach.
Right.
But he went to Texas and he learned right quick.
Yeah.
When you are in Texas, you play by the Texas rules.
Right.
You recruit the Houston AAU players. You don't get your tough kids from Baltimore.
Exactly.
You don't get your tough kids from DC and have great guards and play the way that you want to play. You got to play by Texas's rules. Mike Elko right now has coached up a bunch of Cutcliffe leftovers at Duke. A bunch.
Yeah.
And in a great way.
Yeah, for sure.
But
and brought in some of his own as well.
And he's played well in the portal as well.
Mm-hmm.
When he goes to Texas, all of a sudden you are on your hands and knees trying to get 5-star players from Texas, from Alabama,
That's the thing,
from LSU.
Right? Like,
and that is not a game I see Mike Elko wanting to play,
like
even for $100 million.
I hear Texas A&M's money argument, and it does matter. Like, obviously it matters in college football, but like, I'm sorry, if I'm 18 and you're asking me, like, would I rather be in College Station to go to college or any of those places that are more high profile than you and in your same conference and geographically, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I don't know why people would think that, like, what would get me just because your fans are are so great? I don't know. Maybe everybody has good fans. Like, I don't understand why that, like, what would put you over the top then? Just because you have more money? Like, no.
And just to shoot down one more tangent from this, because it was mentioned on my timeline, I do believe by a State fan, Jimbo Fisher is not going to Carolina. Okay. Mac
Wait,
Brown. Yeah, because they're saying, oh, Jimbo should go to Carolina. Well, listen, you know, I say Mike Elko. I say Mike Elko is very smart. Bubba Cunningham, also very smart.
Yeah.
So in the event that Mac Brown at 72 years old decides he beats, State in his last game and he wants to walk this thing off, fine. Bubba Cunningham is not hiring Jimbo Fisher, people. I promise you that as well.
you might want to give Carolina fans grief for, maybe not being into as much football as somebody else, but they trust me, they know enough to know that would be a disastrous hire for them.
No doubt.
Like, are you kidding me? People would be furious. They watched them too.
Yeah. Like I said, there is no logical landing point for Jimbo
coordinator,
Fisher.
And that's it.
Maybe a Big Ten team gets desperate, or a new Big 12.
To Minnesota.
One of the new Big 12 schools, I think Arizona and Arizona State just made new hires, so it's not going to be one of them. Like I say, there's not a lot of logical spots for him other than like some desperate Big Ten school.
Do you think he has it in him to just like wait it out?
I don't think he does.
I don't either.
These coaches, when they get out,
the ego,
they panic, and it's their ego, and they think it won't turn back to them. So they'll pretty much glom on to any port in the storm.
Yeah.
Something to follow as the season goes along.